all Medicare Advantage plans have gaps. Now, if their concern for you is a different story. I'm Medicare Mike, today going to be going through what those gaps are, should you be concerned about them, and if you are, what can you actually do about it? So, some people, when they go with a Medicare Advantage plan, from my experience, are saying, I'm pretty healthy, I don't want to pay all this extra money for a Medigap, a Medicare supplement. I'd rather save that money and roll the dice, bet on my health staying the same, where I don't go to the doctor all that often, and not pay that extra premium. Other people are kind of looking at that saying, I still want to do that same thing, but I'd rather pay a little bit to protect myself from some of the major holes. Because all Advantage plans have three major gaps. And one of the things that we can do about them is called a hospital indemnity plan that allows us to kind of tailor that coverage to help fill in those gaps. But what are those three gaps? First one is if you're admitted to a hospital. This varies depending on the plan that you have, but a lot of Advantage plans have a pretty decent copay, somewhere around $400, and that can be anywhere from the first 4 days to the first 8 days. So you would pay that much each day that you're in the hospital for that first 4 to 8 day period, depending on what your specific plan is. But they all follow that same basic template. So if we're looking at that, say $400 times 6, that's $2,400 right away that you're going to have to come up with. If that's a concern for you, a hospital indemnity is going to be a good option to look at to help protect you from that risk. Another big one is traditional chemo. So if you're diagnosed with cancer, you're going through traditional chemo, many Advantage plans have that where you are responsible for 20% of the cost until you hit your maximum pocket. And it's been my experience that people are going through that often hit their maximum out of pocket within about 6 weeks because chemo tends to be quite expensive. So if your maximum out of pocket is $6,700, that means you've got to come up with $6,700 to pay that medical bill at that time. The third one is skilled nursing facility. So a lot of times, the first 20 days or so, there is very little to no copay if you have to go to a skilled nursing facility. And the most common thing for that is, let's say something major happens, but you're not quite good enough to go home as you're recovering. You go to a skilled nursing facility for a recovery period, like let's say a heart attack or a stroke. You're going through that, getting better, so you have that care around the clock to make sure nothing else happens and you get better so you can go home. But that skilled nursing facility, like I mentioned, first 20 days or so, usually very little or no copay on most Advantage plans. But on day 21, if you look closely, what you're going to see, there's normally going to be a daily copay of roughly $180 to $190. So you're going to be paying $180 each day after day 20. That adds up very quickly. So those are the three biggest risks as far as out-of-pocket costs that are covered like on a Medicare Advantage plan, where you're in network, the plan's working the way it's supposed to, you're using the plan the way it's supposed to, but those are your three biggest gaps as far as exposure. So what we can look at is setting up a hospital indemnity plan to cover 1, 2, or 3 of those risks to help reduce that for you. Depending on how comprehensive we want to make that, normally we're looking at roughly between $25 and $50 per month. So if you're already paying $0 for a Medicare Advantage plan, it's only a little bit extra to really help protect yourself from those extra gaps. So I think it's a good idea to consider. Compare that to some people who are paying a Medicare supplement. If you do want to go the Advantage route and you're still worried, it's still going to be less than most Medicare supplements going this route. So I think it's a smart use of your money to help protect yourself, unless you already have savings in the bank where you're set up. If you have an HSA account that's funded or some other money that's just set aside just for these bills, you probably don't need it. But if you don't, if you're on Social Security or a fixed income, it's a really smart use of your premium. So if you want to go over what your specific options are, I can talk you through this, compare it for your current plan, and get a detailed look to see how or if this plan would fit you Remember, there's no cost for working with me. You don't pay me anything. You don't pay anything extra. So you can click the link down below. You can schedule a time to talk to me. We'll go over this. You'll never pay me a dime. And remember, there's no obligation for anything. So do that. Otherwise, you can give me a call at 855-712-7316. Talk to you soon.